Hello everybody, welcome to Kleintoon's world. Today I'm going to try two new things. First of all, a different camera angle. So you might see me falling over the camera might bump, you might have my arms in the way. So we'll give that a try. And then we're going to be doing on the opposite side of the color wheel today, or opposite third, shall I say, because of course the color wheel is divided into three. Last time we did from turquoise to yellow, which is cyan to yellow on the CMY scale. And today we're going to do bright pink to turquoise, which is cyan to magenta on the CMY color scale. You've guessed I didn't say K because there's no black in here, but I will one day get some more jars and then we can experiment doing the entire color wheel. That should be quite fun. So for today we're using bright pink from Ashford acid dyes, protein dyes, and turquoise. You'll hear sounds like there's something in there. There is, because I didn't drop, it came apart. My syringe. I used to always use surgical syringes to measure out the quantities until I found these graduated pipettes at our local craft store. So I use these now. They only come in 3 milliliters, so it's a bit of a hassle for mixing larger quantities, but no risk of them coming apart and falling into my dye stock. What I also have is water from my refrigerator, because the colder the water, the slower the dye will strike to the yarn. I want to give the dye as much chance as possible to strike to the fiber as it can. So I'm going to do the bright pink from left to right. So that will, let's just put that over there. You can still see it. And then the turquoise will go from right to left. So I'm going to put the turquoise in first. Also, just a side note, even though they're all the same grams, so this is a 2% stock solution, meaning in 50 milliliters of this liquid is 1 gram of dye powder. And technically, we want to, for a full color, saturated color, we want 1 gram of dye powder per 100 grams of yarn. While we're talking about the yarn, in there are a different yarn that I'm using today, but also from African Expressions. This one is called Charmed, and it's in the Express Yourself range. So this Express Yourself range is what African Expressions and SA Mills blend up specially for indie yarn dyers or yarn dyers in general. So these, they don't color and sell themselves. They sell it to us yarn dyers, and we can express ourselves in whichever way we want. So this one is Charmed. I have 5 times 100 grams. It is 100% superwash merino wool. On 100 grams is approximately 350 meters, which makes it technically a fingering weight yarn. So now that we've discussed the specifications of the yarn, let's get dyeing. Oh yes, so what I wanted to say, so 1% would be 1 gram per 100 grams, but the pink I find a lot more pigmented than any of the other colors, and it's quite a lot more difficult to get it to strike to the yarn. So in today's experiment, I'm using much less of the pink than I will of the turquoise. So what I decided to do was to go in increments of 5. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 milliliters of the turquoise. And then in the pink, going the opposite direction, we're going to do in increments of 3. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So that should give me a good balance, I hope. Let's see what happens. So first of all, see, arms getting in the way. I want to measure out some liquid. So I'm just going to put my cup on here, get my water from the refrigerator. Again, I said I want nice cold water. So I'm just going to put 200 milliliters into each cup. And more or less, not rocket science. There we go. And the next one. $191, another drop. 195. There we go. 198. That should do. And the next one. These are all 500 mil, so let's do this one. And 201. Another tiny drop. There we go. 200 on the dot. That one was fantastic. Okay, let's just do this last one quickly. And there we go, 200. Small little bit left. So now I have 200 milliliters of liquid in each cup. You can get rid of the scale. I don't need that anymore. And let's get mixing. So again, of the turquoise, we're going 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. I'm just going to move these a little bit this way. You can still see them. I just want to avoid any possibility of splashing into the yarn. It's not a train smash. I just don't really want to do it. Again, apologize if the arms get in the way. Just trying something new so that you guys can see. So we want 5 milliliters in the first one. So that's 3. 4, 5. 10 in the next one. So that's 3, 6, 9. And 1 is 10. 5, 10, so 15 in the following one. That's 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. No, 5, 10, 15, 20. Yeah, 20 mils in this one. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 19, 20, and 25 in the last one. So it's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 19, 20. Here we go. So that is it for our turquoise, which is standing in the place of cyan on our color wheel, and bright pink, of course, is in the place of magenta. So in this one I'm going to go in 3s. As I said, this is a lot more pigmented, so we will do 3 in the first one. 6 in the next one. 9 in the next one. 12 in the next one. 6, 9, 12, and 15 in the last one. 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15. Okay. somehow almost regretting putting that much pink in, but let's see what happens. Let's just empty out these pipettes in here and you'll already get pretty much an idea. So in here was equal 50-50 pink and turquoise, and you can see we've already got quite a strong purple. I hope there's not too much of a purple overtone to all of this. Let me get a teaspoon and a cloth. And let's just give them all a bit of a stir. So far, so good. I think we're going to very much have a purple dominated story here. Nothing wrong with that. This is all an experiment. When the one is experimenting, there are no wrong results. There are only results. And that allows us to know for next time and to do our mixing quantities better. Or better, different. There's no better. So, again, we've got from turquoise, the least turquoise to most turquoise, and from least pink to most pink. Now the moment of truth, we're going to add them to this yarn. So I have not pre-soaked the yarn. There's also no acid in here. I did add 100 milliliters of liquid to each of these jars a while ago. So most of the liquid obviously went to the bottom thanks to gravity, so it's quite wet at the bottom. The top is relatively damp. No, it's not wet, but it's damp, let's call it that. So I'm going to just make some space here at the top because I'm just going to chuck it in one go. We might follow that up with some liquid and a shake, I don't know yet. Let's go for it. So the first one in. Oh gosh, is that just not stunning? You can definitely see that, can't you? Okay, the next one. And the next one. I'm going to go over to the other side. Let's do this one. And the last one. Oh my, that is just absolutely breathtaking. Way better than I expected. I'm super, super, super happy so far. You see, we've actually got from a really nice, almost a royal blue, moving towards a purple on that side. I almost want to say like a red cabbage color. I do need to leave some space for my acid water, but I do want to add a little bit more liquid, and I'm going to stick to the refrigerator water because I just want to have. So I'm just going to fill these up to the mid-fill line. Also gives us a chance just to swish out the last bit of dye that is in each of these cups. You can actually even see as I add the water. And I know this bottle says vinegar on it, but I can assure you it's water. As we Let me just stir these up. You can actually then get an idea on a much more diluted scale of what these colors look like. I mean, just look at this. We've got from almost like a Mediterranean blue down to a bright pink. So I'm just going to chuck that in. Swish this around, chuck that in. Swish this one around, chuck that in. And go to the other side. Let's swish that one around. And the last one. There we go. I am just loving this. I'm going to take you off the stand. We can have a look a little bit closer. And there you can see the whole setup now from a different angle. That is just looking absolutely gorgeous. If you look down the line there, I'm just loving these different colors. Let's go in a little bit closer. So there we've got this, as I said, it's almost like a royal blue. You can already start seeing the pink show up there into even more pink. And that one is the most pink, even though there is some blue there. These colors might split a little bit and separate. We'll see what happens. Let's just get you back on the stand. What I will do now is push these cable ties in because they're going to be in the way. Sorry for the arm getting in the way. Go down. Here we go. And the last one. These are reusable cable ties. They're absolutely fantastic. So now we can close them. I'm going to give them a little bit of a whirl, not really think a shake, but just going to help that liquid go through. We are finished with these. Take them out the picture. And while I'm giving it a bit of a turn, oh, not much is happening. Could probably take a lot more liquid. I just want to leave space later for when I need to add the citric acid water. So look, it's not even gone down into the water that I added earlier. I do think we can safely add more liquid. Let's do that. Open everything up again. So far I had 100 ml to start with, 200 ml that we mixed in with the dye. Let's add another lot to the full line of each. Let's do you. Let's do you. And that one. And that one. And that one. Probably still take quite a bit of liquid. Underestimate this yarn. I think what I will do is just let it sit for a while. And then we will come and revisit the situation in a moment. These are all now nice and cold, actually, which is what I wanted, so that the dyes don't strike too quickly. Okay, I'm going to leave these be, and then I will bring you back when we're ready to add the acid. Hello everyone and welcome back. It's been about half an hour, I would guess, 20 minutes, half an hour. I had a coffee. I've allowed these to soak a little bit. I had them turned upside down on their lids for a while, just to get the color to mix in nicely through the middle. So you can see there's still white bits at the bottom, which I don't mind at all. It'll give some interesting effect to the yarn once it's dyed, where it's struck, where it hasn't struck. So what I've prepared in the meantime are some more cups, into which I've added 200 milliliters of tap water. Now the reason I used water from the refrigerator for these is because we are in the throes of summer here at the moment in Kleintoon land. So the cold water coming out of my tap is quite warm actually. And the warmer the water, the faster the dyes will strike. Because acid dyes need two things to adhere to the yarn. One is heat and one is acid. So the slightest bit of heat will make the dye strike faster, and the slightest acidity will also do that. Now I think our water is also slightly acidic, so the combination of warm tap water will on its own make the dye strike quite fast. So into here are 200 milliliters of water. That one still needs its water. I thought I'd do one in front of you just that you don't see I'm cheating. So let's add 200 ml of plain tap water. And we of course do know that water weighs exactly the same as its volume. So 200 grams of water is 200 milliliters of water. Could not have done that any better. You can see there 200 grams. So I'm going to tare that, tare, however you want to pronounce it. And then a quick shout out to Plastilon, our local supply company that sells all kinds of amazing stuff. That's where I bought the jars from. That's where I get my chafing dishes from. That's where I get the citric acid from. So this is called citric acid monohydrate. It's in a 1 kilogram bag. And that's what the baking people use. So I use it too. If it's good enough for baking, it's good enough for yarn dyeing. Of course, I put it into a small container that I don't have to deal with that. And more or less 1 slightly heaped tablespoon is 15 grams. And let's put that over there. We don't need the scale anymore. Move that over to one side. I do need my teaspoon again. Let's give these all a good stir. Dissolve the citric acid in here. You can also use vinegar, of course. I don't mind either. I'm just not a fan of the smell of vinegar. I don't mind it. It's nice on salt and vinegar chips, but I don't necessarily want it floating around in my kitchen. But whether you use vinegar or citric acid makes no difference actually at the end of the day. Only one downside, if you want to call it that, well, the positives of citric acid is it's a powder, as you saw, it's a crystal. So when you don't want to add liquid to your work, it's nice to have an option of using crystals or something dry. I do that sometimes if I want to just sprinkle the citric acid on top of the work if I have it in a pan. Then I don't need to add any liquid, especially if I'm doing speckles. But the downside of citric acid is, if you've ever used it in baking, is it's slightly sticky. So you just have to bear that in mind when you use it, that wherever it touches anything, it's sticky. And when you rinse your yarn, you have to just be aware of the fact you might just have to give it a little extra wash. So what I normally do is when it comes out of the dye bath, I first rinse it, then I wash it, then I rinse it again. And I just make sure there's no residue. Put that in there. Okay, now we're going to add the citric acid. Oof, I really did tighten these well. Let's not mix up the lids, put them in the front here. Move this side. Sure. They do seal well, these lids, I must say. Okay, let's start from this side, adding the acid. I hope this is now not too much liquid. Bubble away, bubble, bubble. I'm sure it will absorb it all. I'm just going to fill it to the very brim. Next one. If you can hear it bubbling away there. Of course, it's not bubbling because it's reacting in any way, it's just bubbling because the yarn's quite dry. Remember, there wasn't liquid in this yarn beforehand. Alrighty. I see some of them might have had more than others. I'm going to just let them sit a little bit and then top them up if that's necessary at all. Just to make sure that I have the same amount of liquid in each one, because the next step after this, of course, will be to heat set them in the microwave. But I will just allow them first to come up to room temperature to not shock either the glass or the yarn before I start heating it in the microwave. So let's just give these some time to sit and bubble away, and then we'll be back. Okay, now I've had them sitting for a while. They've definitely absorbed as much liquid as they're going to. So I just want to top each one up just a little bit so that the yarn is all covered. Also not too much, because obviously as the yarn heats up in the microwave, it expands, and then the liquid will spill out all over the place. And don't ask me how I know that one. So now we can cover them, and I will let them sit for another 20 minutes or so, and then I will start heat setting them in the microwave, increments of 2 minutes, until probably 3 sessions of 2 minutes each. And then they will cool overnight. So the next time I check in with you will be tomorrow morning. Then we can wash them, put them out to dry, and have a look at the results. Thanks so much for coming along on this dye journey, mixing turquoise and bright pink. Let's see what the results look like in the morning. Have a great one. Bye.